that we're starting with this subject. Obviously, it's a touchy subject. Them being our neighbors here, me being born in LA and being an LA boy, and most of my family being over there, it's of concern, everything that's going on. So I'm just glad that we're touching on this. And it's very important for people to know what rules, regulations they can follow, or just where to get the proper help. So I'm glad that we're starting here.
Yeah. So here's the article title today, guys. You have Los Angeles landlords jack up rent by as much as 124%, flouting price gouging laws during deadly wildfires, coming in from the New York Post. So the law, as written in the article, is landlords are not permitted to raise the price of housing by more than 10% after a state of emergency has been declared, which there's been a state of emergency declared for Los Angeles.
Right.
Yet, you still have people surpassing that threshold easily by hundreds of listings, just by one survey alone, by this one, I'm not going to say her name, but this one person who was surveyed for this or interviewed for this article, in her review of more than 400 listings, found almost 100 that had rents raised beyond the 10% threshold.
Yeah. No, this is crazy. I mean, I like right here, and one of the cases, right? In one extreme case, a 5-bedroom home in Santa Monica listed at $12,500 per month last February 2024 was destroyed in the wildfires. February 24 was recently relisted for $28,000.
Can you imagine? First of all, let's talk about $12,500 a month for renting a house.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 150 G's a year.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, and then now you're talking about $28,000 a month. That's
unreal.
Insane.
You know, it's crazy. The big corporations like Airbnb I saw were offering, free stays in certain locations or certain spots that they had availability in. And you would think big corporations would be the ones that, go in and, spike the prices up. But it's regular people that, see an opportunity and say, hey, well, shoot, if everyone's doing it, I might do it as well. But they did mention in the article that they are going to find, these people. They are going to run reports, and they are going to, basically make sure that they, do abide by the law, or, provide those repercussions, because that is just, honestly, it's like just priding on people's misfortunes.
Now, I think one of the things that's going to get people caught here is if they already had the listing listed and marketed, and then they try to spike it, that could have one recourse. But I think, honestly, where someone's going to, I'll say, get away with it, for lack of a better term, is they're going to put their house for rent February 1st.
Yeah.
It's upcoming that they're going to have a rental, and now they can go right to what that, let's say, new market rate is.
Yeah.
That's $3,000 more, $5,000, $7,000 more a month, because also, take a step back. Everyone that's displaced, how long are they going to be displaced for?
Exactly.
How long?
Three
years?
3 years, and that's
5
very,
years?
very, very lucky if it is 3 years.
I really think we should put a poll out there, Andy.
Let's do it.
How long is it going to take to actually rebuild this? Is it going to take like 3 years, 5 years, 7, 10 years to rebuild it? And we're talking about in some of these homes are worth millions. So I would say anything that a house is going to be rebuilt, $5, $10, $20 million, it's going to take at least anywhere from 8 to 10 years to rebuild that thing.
One of the primary things I'm hearing already is that there's no sense right now of what the timeline is for the utilities to even get fixed, or let's say modernized to what they're going to need to be for whatever's going to replace that.
Yeah.
How long is that going to take?
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that coin is some of these homeowners that do have policies. Their policy has a limit for how long the policy will cover their rent. And some of those people are going to have it for up to 3 years, which sounds great. Oh, wow, 3 years of rent cover. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But what if it takes longer, like 5? Now what do you do? What do you do if you still had a mortgage on that place and you're paying? Are you going to have mortgage payments suspended on that place and you have rental? This is getting very complicated very quickly.
Unfortunately, I feel it's going to push people that eventually they're going to run out of resources, and the only option is going to be, I'm going to have to sell the land that I have to be able to just stay afloat. Because if eventually the money runs out for their insurance, I mean, they're also paying a crazy amount in rent. Like, how long can they keep paying both payments for?
Yeah. That's going to be crazy.
Time bomb.
So we do have real estate professionals and housing advocates kind of urging authorities to enforce the law a little bit more aggressively here, which, whether they're just saying that it's surface value or not is not my point in bringing this up. It's going to be necessary. I also understand that there will be people with means that they may not care. They may actually not care. There will be some that just on the principle itself will say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I could pay $12,000 a month, but I'm not going to because you're gouging. But then that house is going to go to someone else who's like, I don't care. I don't give a rip, and I can pay it, and I'm going to.
And they're doing it.
And they are.
One of the things I also saw, again, kind of connected to this article, but more on the social media side, was some people, they're actively making choices now based on that 3 or 5 year time frame, based on school.
Oh, yeah.
Because, my kid's school isn't there anymore, and maybe it won't be back by 3 or 5 years. So my 10-year-old now is going to be 15. They're going to be in high school now. So hold on. Now I'm going to actually just maybe go look into the neighborhood that I'm going to move into for the high school that they're going to go to, because now they have to go there versus the one or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's only one example, but there's going to be, I don't know how many other examples like that.
My goodness.
I mean, again, not to espouse the complications of this, but the number of variables that people are now considering is dramatically increased just in the first week and a half, 2 weeks of this.
Yeah, it's devastating. I mean, this is just unreal. And I just think, the Attorney General speaking here, by the time they get to all these people that are price gouging, well, you know how much time it's going to take to get these guys to? It can take several years. And then once it's done, they can just not even look into it. So who knows? Right. So I think that's where the regular people are just going to be taking advantage of the situation, thinking I'll get away with it. And they may very well, it may very well happen. Mm-hmm. Again, we don't have all the resources out there, especially when now we're talking about rebuilding and we're getting, the World Cup coming over here. You have Olympics coming up. Like, come on, guys. Like, there's a lot that's going to go on. And if people are price gouging, I think that's not going to be one of the priorities. So,
I mean, you saw Gavin Newsom's video of him being all happy, saying that they're in talks of, making stuff happen. Dude. I mean, the guy looked diabolical when he was just.
How was that? Yeah, was he doing the shoulders on the camera?
Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Talk straight. You're a political leader.
That was very odd. Yeah, to see someone trying to make a public statement, answering the question, but also just being all like, oh, wiggly. I don't like automatically. I'm like, dude, what is happening right now?
You know when you're excited about something, you're trying to tell someone, and you're like, you can't hold it in.
Let me ask you a question. If I walked into one of your offices and you guys asked me a question, and I started going, well, guys, I just think that maybe the thing we need to do, you'd be like, that guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. You would look at me that way right away.
Andy, first of all, why are you shimmy?
Yeah, what's up with the shoulder business?
Yeah, that's just going to take us in a whole different direction there.
No, it's a bad moment for sure. Whether you like Gavin Newsom or hate him, I honestly don't really care.
Yeah,
the point is, it's just the optics looked really bad and really weird.
I mean, it's out in the internet. People can make their own opinion about it. I think.
Question to you, Brian. Yeah. What would you suggest people to do before they find a rental?
Weigh out their options. I mean, if in these next couple of years you have a stable job, you don't have a stable job, a lot of people are going to say, heck, this is my opportunity to book it out of here. I don't have anything. I could literally leave the state. So I think it's more about, really assessing all your options, whether it's with your family being here. Do you have kids that are young? Do you have kids that are older? Are you older? Are you mid-age? Are your kids, It all really depends on what case, what hand you were dealt. So it really depends, but I think it goes based off what your life and your family needs are. That's going to be the first thing people are going to look at.
What about you, Andy? Like, somebody's going to get price gouged. What would you advise them to do before they go into this new rental?
I think that you need to be very conservative in your decision making. That's my personal choice, because if I were to put myself in that situation and I have to consider whether I go back or I don't go back, I rebuild or I don't rebuild, or I wait for a developer to build and I try to go rebuy back in the same neighborhood, or whatever version of that's going to look, I have to take a 5-year outlook. Now, the other thing too is that there's people whose not only their house is there, but their work was there too. And that's a whole different situation. And you got the school situation too. So if I were making the conscious choice that I want to stay in Los Angeles for either my work or my just personal preference, then I'm trying to find a place as quickly as I can that's within my means, while all these uncertainties get certaintied.
Yeah. And that's
how about you?
And that's what I'm saying. What I'm looking at is going more towards what this article's talking about, the price gouging of people. What I would do is I'd go to like Redfin, Zillow, places like that you're going to see and try to go back like a couple of months to see what the rental market really is, right?
Good point.
Before you actually go out there and just make the true decision whether you think this is, like in this case, $12,500 to $28,000, right? Well, where do you get this information? You got to go out there and really look. And so one of the things is that's a great point to go Zillow, Redfin, go talk to a property management, a reputable property management company that can really put you in the best place where now you won't be taken advantage of. So that's what I'm looking at. If I'm being displaced and obviously there's nothing, where do I go? What do I do? That would be my first thing is, Zillow, Redfin, property management, just to have a better understanding.
That's a great point you bring up.
Great point. And something I maybe we didn't mention this as obviously as we could have, but there are some people that where their neighborhood was burned down, they were the renter already, and so they're just going to go rent somewhere else. But for the people that are homeowners looking to rent, that can emotionally feel like a big step down, if you will. Just from look, hey, I've owned my house for 20 years, 30 years, or maybe my house was paid off, or even if I had a loan, like, oh man, I got to be a renter again. Like, there's got to be a psychological impact to that. And I really hadn't considered that. I know I didn't mention it, but I really hadn't really considered it until I was listening to you say, yeah, go research and find a property manager. I'm like, man, these people, they haven't had to do this.
Exactly.
It's a brand new situation for some of these people brand new in the sense that they haven't done it for 20 years in some cases. That's going to be possibly a burden to have to overcome.
Yeah. Even like elderly people too that are just like, not up to date with technology and stuff, like they're just completely misplaced.
Well, hopefully they have grandkids, they have children that can point them in the right direction,
Hopefully.
We already know, like in the Palisades area, there's not many homes that were available, on the market, right? And a lot of people live there for many years, 50 plus years. Their homes are already paid off. I heard a story where one of the owners, actually their insurance just lapsed. He couldn't afford it. He was retired. He owned the home a long time ago, and his premium went from $3,500 annually to $18,000. Yeah. And even that difference of like, what was it, like $1,500 some dollars, it made a big difference where he couldn't do it. Yeah. So when he went to the California Fair Plan, they asked him to remove 10 trees.
I heard that.
Right? From PBD.
Yeah.
And so when they asked him to remove those trees, it cost him way more money to be able to remove those trees, right? And so he chose to go uninsured. When your home is free and clear, you can go bare. You are not required to have homeowners insurance. So now his life is gone. The house burned 100%. What does he do in this case?
Oh,
So we have, not only do we have people taking advantage of the rents, now we're going to have investors prying on these people that can't rebuild because they just can't afford it.
They're going to have to take a buyout, you're saying?
Yeah, take a buyout, just buy the land, and that's it. They're going to have to move forward.
I mean, who has like $5 million just laying around in their bank account?
Well, somebody will. There's obviously people that do. Will. So, but to your point, it's so unknown what that's going to look like. Yeah. And I don't want to be skeptical here, but I'm not even sure what level of governing allowance is going to be allowed for that, like governing allowance, what they're going to allow to have happen until things really get sorted out. Yeah. I don't even know what they're going to allow to happen in some of these neighborhoods.
Newsom said that they can't pry, like investors can't go out there and pry on these or take advantage of these people for the next 3 months.
But
how long is it going to take you?
That's
debris is going to take how long?
Dude, that's so short. The fire's
still
timeline.
Like not even 10% contained.
That's crazy. That's so short in this timeline.
I know.
That's honestly like
that's like people like rubbing their hands together.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm just waiting.
I'm just waiting.
Oh man.
Well, I got my piggy bank right here.
Again, this just goes out with nobody understands the situation until you're going through it, and now we start going. That's why, again, that poll of figuring out how many years it's going to take to rebuild. I think, please let us know what you guys think. Yeah. How many years?
Yeah.
And if you're in San Diego, go talk to your insurance provider. Make sure your insurance is up to date. Make sure you got the proper coverage. Make sure you even have insurance, because at the end of the year, every time sometimes your mortgage gets sold off to another servicer, and in between they don't redo the insurance. So please make sure that you call your insurance provider right now, that it's the beginning of the year, and say, hey, what are we looking at? I don't want to end up like LA. What's up? San Diego fire season on the way. I want to make protected.
Yeah.
And guys, I know I told you this off. We're going to tell everyone right now. We are actually going to have an insurance show, like kind of an emergency broadcast with some of our friends in insurance, talk about what is available right now, what's going to potentially change because of all this, and then some advice for homeowners who still have insurance or maybe don't have insurance and need to get it again because maybe they just said, hey, I'm going to go without it. So that conversation will be coming very soon.
Yeah.
Sounds good.